I accept the bet, the tiny voice rang out, cutting through the stunned silence like a crack of thunder. A 10-year-old black girl in a faded dress shoved her way past frozen guests, planting herself right in front of the furious billionaire. Larry Massey's face twisted in disbelief, his finger still jabbing at her trembling mother. What the? Kid, get out of here. This doesn't concern you. But Judy didn't budge. Her little fists clenched, eyes blazing up at him. You made my mom cry. You don't get to do that. The gala crowd gasped, phones shaking in hands as they filmed. Maya reached for her daughter, whispering frantically, Judy, no, baby, come back. Too late. Larry barked a cruel laugh, towering over the child. Fine. You want to play? Same deal. Dance to my song, prove you're not just some charity case flailing around, or your mom's out on the street tonight. $100 million if you somehow don't embarrass yourself. The mansion speakers blared to life with sweeping orchestral notes, drowning the ballroom in Gershwin's soaring melody. Judy's chest heaved once, twice. Then she moved. And in that split second, no one in the ballroom, no one watching the live streams exploding online, could have guessed what was about to happen to one of the most powerful men in Washington, D.C. Before we continue, I want to speak to you for a moment. If stories like this one light a fire in you, if they remind you that real power doesn't come from money, connections, but from quiet strength, from standing your ground when the whole world expects you to fold, from turning pain into purpose and watching the bullies fall, then I'd love to have you here with us. This channel isn't just videos, it's a tiny corner of the internet where good people come together, where we believe in equality. And right now you're early. You're part of the very first people building this family with me. So if you want to grow with us, if you want more stories that touch your heart, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, it supports the channel more than you know. And it tells me that there are still people out there who believe in equality just as much as I do. If you have subscribed to this channel, I can officially say welcome to the family. In Washington, D.C.'s elite Colorama enclave, where ambassadors sip espresso behind iron gates and former presidents walk their dogs under Secret Service watch, Larry Massey's mansion stood as a fortress of faux grandeur. The sprawling Neo-Georgian pile, with its imported Italian marble floors and custom frescoes mimicking the Capitol Rotunda, was more stage than home. Tonight, it hosted the pinnacle of Larry's ambitions, a gala disguised as a summit, where he'd seal the deal of his life. The $20 billion investment pot wasn't just cash, it was Larry's golden ticket. Pooled from venture titans, defense contractors, and shadowy sovereign funds, it would fund Massey Innovations' next-gen AI surveillance network. Contracts with the NSA, CIA, and even foreign allies hung in the balance. Success meant Larry ascending to god-tier status. Board seats at think tanks, invites to Davos, and the kind of legacy that gets buildings named after you. Failure? Whispers of overreach, stock dips, and the slow bleed of relevance in a town that devours the weak. Teresa Massey, his wife of 15 years, played her role to perfection. In a slinky emerald gown that screamed old money, though hers was strictly new, she flitted among guests, her laughter a calculated chime. But behind the facade? Teresa was in it for the lifestyle, the private jets to Aspen, the black card shopping sprees on M Street, the charity galas that masked her influence laundering. She'd married Larry when his startup was just scraping by, betting on his rise like a Wall Street futures play. Well, secondary. Security? Non-negotiable. If the pot vanished, so would she, twisting the knife with a divorce that could have his empire. And then there were the invisibles, the staff. In Larry's world, maids were ghosts, seen only in mishaps, heard never. Especially if you were black like Maya Thompson, the lone outlier in a crew of vetted hires from upscale agencies. At 39, Maya had mastered the art of fading into wallpaper. Eyes averted, steps silent, presence erased. It was a skill honed from 4 years under Larry's roof, where one wrong glance could spark a tirade. He'd crossed her path before. Once, during a tense investor brunch, he'd sneered at a smudged silver fork, muttering, "Some folks just aren't cut for precision work." The racial subtext hung heavy, but Maya bit her tongue. Jobs like this paid the bills? Barely. Life was a relentless hustle. Widowed young when her husband, a Metro Transit mechanic, died from untreated heart issues. No insurance, no mercy from the system. Maya juggled double shifts to keep their cramped apartment in Congress Heights afloat. Rent devoured her checks, utilities nipped at the edges, and Judy's budding dance passion? A dream deferred. The girl had talent, raw, electric, inherited from Maya's late mama, who once shimmied in underground jazz spots during the civil rights era. But classes cost money Maya didn't have. Tonight, desperation forced her hand. The regular sitter, a neighbor battling her own health woes, canceled last minute. No family in town, no options. Hide in the pantry, baby girl, Maya had cooed, smuggling Judy in with a backpack of crayons and a whispered promise. Mommy'll be done soon. Stay put. Judy nodded, her big eyes trusting, clutching a worn photo of her grandma mid-twirl. The pantry was a dim sanctuary, shelves of fine china, the hum of the kitchen beyond. Judy perched on a stool, sketching dancers, her mind wandering to the faint music seeping through the walls. She didn't know the stakes outside, how Larry's pot was a house of cards, how Teresa's smiles masked calculations, how one spill could ignite it all. Maya glided into the ballroom, tray balanced like her life. Head down. Invisible. Until the investor, drunk on Larry's top-shelf bourbon, backed into her. Caviar soared. Champagne arced. Larry's tux took the hit, stains spreading like bad news. The room froze. Larry's roar shattered the hush. You incompetent. This is a $5,000 shirt. Do you even comprehend that? Maya knelt, apologies spilling faster than the mess. Sir, it was an accident, the gentleman. But Larry loomed, his past gripes boiling over. Accident? Like last time? You're a liability, Maya. Always have been. The elite watched, some smirking, others shifting uncomfortably. Teresa rolled her eyes, sipping her flute, already mentally tallying divorce assets if this night tanked. Maya's tears fell freely now, pooling on the marble. Humiliation burned hotter than any prior slight. Judy, peeking from the cracked pantry door, saw it all. Her mom's broken posture. The big man's cruelty. Her small heart raged. And that's when she charged. As Judy's childlike fusion unfolded, innocent leaps syncing with Gershwin's clarinet cries, crump pops echoing the brass like her grandma's forbidden protest dances. A venture capitalist in the front row muttered to his partner, audible over the murmurs. Wait, that remix vibe. My dad backed those 80s jazz fundraisers Larry's old man threw. Etta Thompson catered them, black woman with killer moves. She twisted Gershwin into something revolutionary. Larry Sr. was obsessed. Gasps rippled. Phones zoomed in. Larry's elite song, the weapon of his bet, was stolen fire from the black cultural flames he'd spent his life snuffing out. Judy's small body seemed to grow with the music, her faded dress swirling like a flag of quiet rebellion. The Gershwin melody, those wild clarinet runs and pounding piano, filled the ballroom, but Judy made it her own. She started soft, almost playful, little hops and skips that a kid might do on a playground, syncing perfectly to the whimsical opening. Then came the fire. Her arms snapped sharp and crump pops during the brass blasts, her feet stamping Afrobeat rhythms that echoed the go-go beats her grandma Etta had danced to on U Street back in the day. It wasn't polished perfection. It was raw joy, resilience woven into every twist and turn. A story told without words, pain into power, tears into triumph. The elite crowd, men and women who'd built empires on cold calculations, stood frozen at first. A few smirked, waiting for the flop. But as Judy's energy lit the room, the smirks faded. Reluctant claps started in the back, growing into real applause. Phones were everywhere, red recording lights blinking like fireflies. Live streams popped up instantly. Hashtag DC Dance Revolt, hashtag Tiny Dancer vs Billionaire, hashtag Colorama Karma. Larry Massey stood rooted, his face cycling from amusement to confusion to something darker, panic. He'd bet $100 million from the pooled investment fund, the one sealing his $20 billion defense deal. It was supposed to be a joke, a throwaway flex to entertain his guests. No way a maid, or her kid, could win. But as the final note soared and Judy struck a defiant pose, chin high, chest heaving, the room erupted. Not in laughter. In cheers. Maya, tears still wet on her cheeks, rushed forward and scooped Judy into her arms. Baby, what did you do? She whispered, half terrified, half awestruck. Security moved in at Larry's frantic wave. Delete those videos. Now. But it was too late. The clips were already spreading like wildfire across X, TikTok, Instagram. Within minutes, hashtag DC Dance Revolt trended nationwide. Politico dropped a breaking alert. Tech mogul's cruel gala bet backfires spectacularly. TMZ had the raw footage up with the headline, "Billionaire bullies maid's kid, gets schooled." Back in the staff quarters, Maya bundled Judy into her coat, heart pounding as they slipped out a service exit into the cool Colorama night. A town car waited, courtesy of a sympathetic guest who texted discreetly. They sped toward their modest apartment near the Navy Yard, the Anacostia River lights blurring past. "Mommy, did I do good?" Judy asked, wide-eyed in the back seat, still buzzing. Maya pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "You were amazing, sweetie. But we might have to find a new job." At home, the weight lifted a little. Their place was small, 2 bedrooms, peeling paint, the hum of the metro in the distance. But it was theirs. Maya tucked Judy in, then sat on the edge of the bed, sharing stories she'd held back before. About Grandma Etta dancing through segregation, turning pain into rhythm. About how dance had saved their family more than once. Judy fell asleep smiling, dreaming of stages bigger than pantries. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Larry paced the study, Teresa watching from the doorway with folded arms. "This is a disaster," he snarled, scrolling his phone. Views were already in the millions. "That little brat just cost me everything." Teresa's voice was ice. "You cost yourself, Larry? Betting investor money? On a child? For fun." The pot was sacred, pooled commitments from partners who trusted him to deliver. If he didn't pay up after declaring Judy the winner, the room's applause left no doubt, he'd breach fiduciary duty. Lawsuits. Withdrawals. The $20 billion deal crumbling. By morning, the viral storm raged. Morning shows dissected the footage. Commentators called it a symbol of DC's divides. The insulated elite versus the working backbone. Initial donations trickled in, GoFundMe pages for Judy's Dance Dreams, and Black Arts in Anacostia Awards, started by strangers moved by the girl's spirit. But the real bomb dropped midday. A viral thread from a tech whistleblower account exploded. Side-by-side comparisons of old mansion security footage Larry had once used to document Maya's clumsiness. That smudged fork incident, the spill he'd exaggerated. The analysis? Deepfake detection tools, ironically powered by competitors to Larry's own AI, proved the clips were doctored. Timestamp anomalies, pixel inconsistencies. Larry had fabricated evidence to justify docking Maya's pay or threatening her job. The backlash was immediate. Not just cruel, criminal, headlines screamed. FBI tips flooded in, questioning if Massey Innovation surveillance tech had been used for personal tampering. Stock plunged 18% by close. Partners pulled from the pot, demanding refunds to avoid association. Larry had to pay the $100 million, from his personal fortune, to honor the bet publicly and salvage any credibility. It hurt, wiping out liquid assets, forcing asset sales, but didn't leave him destitute. Broke? In billionaire terms, yes. Down to only hundreds of millions, private jet grounded, Hampton's house listed. Teresa? She saw the writing on the wall. By week's end, divorce papers cited irreconcilable differences, code for the money train derailed. She walked with a generous settlement, vanishing to Palm Beach with new friends. But for Maya and Judy? The donations weren't trickles anymore. They flooded. Millions for youth dance programs in underserved DC neighborhoods, scholarships, a foundation in Judy's name. Invites poured in, safe ones vetted by new advisors. Judy practiced in a rented studio, her joy infectious. Maya, for the first time, breathed easy, no more invisible shifts, planning a community center in Southeast. Larry, isolated in a downsized Georgetown condo, watched the news clips alone. The fury faded into something quieter. Regret, maybe even admiration. He'd lost the pot, the deal, the wife chasing gold. But in the ruins he found space to reflect. On the invisibles he'd dismissed, on the real power in a child's unfiltered heart. Time has a way of softening sharp edges in Washington, D.C., the city of comebacks, second acts, and quiet reinventions. 5 years passed like a slow, healing waltz. For Maya and Judy Thompson, those years were a symphony of growth and joy. The Thompson Rhythm Foundation, born from the gala's viral aftermath and the $150 million in pledges, had become a beacon across the district. Studios dotted underserved neighborhoods. Bright spaces in Anacostia, Shaw, and Congress Heights where kids from all backgrounds danced without worry of cost. Scholarships sent talented youth to elite programs, and community showcases packed venues like the Atlas Performing Arts Center on H Street. Maya, once invisible, now led as executive director. Confident, respected, her Southeast roots a source of pride. She bought a sunny row house near the Navy Yard, with a backyard big enough for Judy to practice under the stars. No more debts, no more fear, just stability and purpose. Judy, now 15, had blossomed into a poised young artist. Her fusion style, blending Gershwin classics with go-go fire, crump power, and contemporary grace, earned standing ovations at the Kennedy Center's youth festivals. She choreographed her first full piece at 14, Echoes of Etta, honoring her grandma and the unsung black dancers of DC's past. Schools invited her for workshops. Kids looked up to her as proof that dreams could defy odds. But Judy stayed grounded, helping teach at the foundation, volunteering with little ones who reminded her of her younger self. Mother and daughter danced together often, laughing in the kitchen to old Motown tracks, their bond unbreakable. Larry Massey's path was quieter, steeper, but upward all the same. The financial reckoning hit hard at first. Paying the bet from personal funds cascaded. Asset sales, scaled-back lifestyle, the mansion sold to an embassy. Teresa's divorce took its share. She moved to Santa Fe, quietly pursuing dance classes and finding peace in pottery and philanthropy far from the spotlight. Larry downsized to a modest townhouse in Foggy Bottom, near the Potomac's calming flow. The empire didn't vanish. He pivoted Massey Innovations to ethical AI tools for education and nonprofit security, rebuilding slower but steadier. Stock recovered gradually, partnerships reformed on humbler terms. But the real change was inside. Solitude forced reflection. Therapy unearthed old patterns. The dismissiveness masking insecurity, the cruelty born from fearing vulnerability. He read about systemic inequities, volunteered anonymously at food banks in Southeast. One day, scrolling old news clips, he lingered on Judy's dance, not with bitterness but awe. It cracked him open. The apology came unannounced. A crisp autumn afternoon, Maya opened her foundation's door to find Larry standing there. No entourage, just a simple coat and a tentative smile. "May I come in?" he asked. Maya hesitated, then nodded. Judy peeked from the studio, curious. They sat in the office overlooking the dance floor, kids' laughter echoing. "I owe you both this," Larry began, voice steady but eyes moist. "I was cruel that night, and before. The comments, the belittling, it was wrong. Arrogant. Inhuman. Your dance, Judy, it showed me what real strength looks like. Grace under fire. I lost everything material because of my ego, but it gave me a chance to find something better." Judy tilted her head. "Like what?" "Perspective," he said. "Empathy. I've been supporting arts programs quietly, matching grants, funding scholarships. But I needed to say it to your faces. I'm sorry. Truly." Maya studied him, seeing not the tyrant but a man reshaped. "It takes courage to admit that." "Thank you." Larry smiled faintly. "Watching what you've built, it's inspiring. If you'll allow, I'd like to volunteer here, teach basic tech to the kids or just be useful." Judy grinned. "You can start by learning some steps. Dance fixes everything." He laughed, genuinely, for the first time in years. Larry did volunteer, mentoring teens on digital tools, even stumbling through beginner classes, earning chuckles from the kids. His company thrived anew on ethical grounds, partnerships blooming with foundations like theirs. He found joy in simplicity, river walks, quiet dinners, meaningful work. In the end, the rhythms redeemed them all. Maya and Judy, secure, celebrated, passing light forward. Larry, humbled, human, contributing from the heart. One dance had shattered illusions, but rebuilt lives stronger, kinder. And in DC's ever-turning seasons, that's the truest power of all. What will you rate this story from 0 to 10? And what part of the world are you watching from? Comment your country below. Let's build a global community rooted in kindness and second chances. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Your support brings us closer to our 1K subscriber milestone and inspires us to keep creating more emotional stories of resilience, healing, and Black excellence. Thank you for being part of our journey. Your presence matters more than you know. Hope to see you again.